Yeah, there we have it. Malifaux's Gaining Ground Season 4. Link in the description below of the video. So if we click here, we can see all the updates. Now we're not gonna go through all of this. We basically have overview, player responsibilities, text regarding decks, public information, slow play, how to deal with that, tracking, rules on proxies and conversion, some rules or directions you could say regarding terrain, so blocking, dense and concealing, some information on that, some information on game rounds, the ringer, buys, information regarding disqualifications, some information regarding generating schemes, chosen faction and leaders. This one is kinda interesting. Bans. After a leader are announced, starting with attacker, each player may name up to X and the keywords not listed in that opponent's leader. Their opponents may not hire models that have the named keywords unless it also have the keyword with the leader or versatile. This means that, for example, if I would say Arcanist and then I would say Hoffman, then someone could say Chimera. Let's just throw that one out there. This means that I can't hire any out of keyword Chimera models. And this could basically block some synergies that would be overpowered otherwise. Double Rush, I kinda liked Double Rush, that was fun. Some Henchman Hardcore information. And now finally we are at strategies, and this is the part we're gonna focus quite a lot on. So the new strategies are Plant Explosives, Cloak and Dagger, Stuff the Ballots, and Raid the Vaults. So you might already know about Plant Explosives if you've been playing Henchman Hardcore. After deployment, starting with the player with initiative, each player alternately places explosive tokens on their deployment models until each player has placed a total of 5 explosive tokens on their models. Minions can have a maximum of 1 explosion token, and non-minions can maximum of 2 explosion tokens. I just realized that this is not updated. I'm looking at the two side by side, and they are basically saying the exact same thing. But here, this is better. There are a few more small details on this one. So, a friendly controlled model with 1 or more explosive tokens can take the interact action to an explosion token and drop a strategy marker into base contact with itself. Strategy markers cannot be dropped within 6 inches of another strategy marker. Then we have Cloak and Dagger, and I have actually never played this one. After deployment zones are chosen, starting with the defending player, each player alternative create strategy markers center on the center line, not within 6 inches of another strategy marker, until there are a total of 4 strategy markers on the center line. Strategy markers are concealing. Friendly controlled models within 1 inch of a strategy marker may take the interact action targeting that marker, ignoring loss, to gain an intel token. After doing so, the opposing player may place the strategy marker anywhere within 4 inches of its current position. Then, friendly controlled models within 1 inch on the loss of an enemy model with an intel token may take the interact action targeting an enemy model to take one of the target's intel tokens, ignoring that model's engagement range. Until end phase, the target may not take the intel token from this model. Wait, this is actually kinda interesting. I'm just gonna finish reading the whole thing first. At the end of each turn, a crew may discard all intel tokens from any number of friendly models without insignificant on the table. A crew gains 1 VP if it discards more an intel token this turn in this way than it has scored for this strategy. I have to say I kinda actually like this. It's extremely interact heavy. Like, you actually have to make a lot of interact actions, if I'm gonna be honest. Alright, let's actually explain. So all 4 different markers will be placed on the center line, not randomly, but selectively. You place 2 where you want them, and the opponent places 2 where they want them, and they have to be 6 inches apart from each other. A friendly controlled model may take an interact action on one of those strategy markers to gain an intel token. after you do this, the opponent is moving the strategy marker up to 4 inches of its current position. This means that when I make an interact action on a strategy marker, I gain an intel token, but my opponent is placing the strategy marker somewhere, which is making it harder for me to do the same thing again, but easier for my opponent to do it. So it's a little bit of a comeback mechanic. But then, friendly controlled models within 1 inch of an enemy model with an intel token may take the interact action targeting an enemy model to take one of their intel tokens, ignoring the model's engagement range. Until the end phase, that target may not take an intel token from this model. So you don't start the game with any intel tokens, you acquire them by making interact actions on these strategy markers. But you can steal them, very similar to how you can send away the cursed object tokens to an opponent. So the game would be kind of rush towards the middle or somewhere in the center line, start interacting and claiming intel tokens, but be a little bit secured about because your opponent is gonna move these strategy markers around when you do. But then you can like counter that by running up and standing like very close to the enemy model and just interact and take that intel token back. This feels like a very heavy interact action strategy. Like Colette is probably gonna be quite good in this one, because the Collect performer crew is usually very good at making a lot of interact actions, just speculating. And then at the end of this turn you just discard all intel tokens and you gain, or you discard any amount and you gain a victory point. Now here's the thing, if you're able to acquire, let's say 3 intel tokens the first turn, you're just going to discard 1 and gain 1 victory point, and then next turn you already have your 2 unless they've been stolen, and you discard those 2, and now you have 2 total victory points. I have to say I kinda like this one. Stuff the ballots. After deployment zones are chosen, create 7 strategy markers. 2 centered on the center line, each touching a different table edge, which means that it's the same like outflank. They're just touching the corners. 1 in the center of each table quarter, so that's 4. And 1 centered on the center point. Ah, I see, okay. I see kinda the grid you're making here. Strategy markers are height 5, blocking and impassable. On every turn after the first, models within 1 inch of a strategy marker may take the interact action to place a vote token friendly to the model's controller on the strategy marker. A crew is controlling strategy markers if it has more friendly vote tokens on the marker than the opposing player. If at any point a strategy marker has a total of 6 vote tokens, friendly and enemy, remove all vote tokens from the strategy marker. At the end of each turn, a crew gains 1 VP if it has its control more strategy markers, not completely on its own table half, than the VP it has scored from this strategy. So each crew has 5 potential strategy markers they can try to score victory points from, and the goal is to basically make more interact actions on these strategy markers than the opponent can do. But you just need to make 1 more than the opponent, which means that if an opponent hasn't made any interact actions on them, then you could basically just make the little effort of 1 interact action to gain 1 vote token, and boom, you're controlling that specific strategy. Now it's kind of interesting, these vote tokens don't disappear throughout the rounds, they're staying there until you have like 6 total. At 6 total they basically reset. Now funny thing here, at the end of each turn a crew gains 1 VP if it is controlling more strategy markers not completely on its own table half than VP it has scored from this strategy. But there's nothing preventing you from interacting and placing vote tokens on your own strategy markers in your own deployment zone to make it harder for your opponents to actually score them. So if you have 1 vote token on one of the strategy markers you're not gonna gain victory points from, the opponent is just gonna have to use 2 interact actions on that location to make victory points from it. But in the end you have to make a lot of interact actions to actually gain victory points from this one. I can see a little bit of a war where people are just standing on these objectives and just interact action, interact action. But very key as well is that you can't ignore engagement range. So the ability Don't Mind Me is gonna be very good on this one. But also the part where, like, if you have a 2-inch engagement range, you can, and you have a way of making a move without disengaging, you can always just move out and then interact and just hold your opponent in engagement range so they can't disengage and interact. Yeah, I have to say I kind of like it. I am honestly looking forward to playing this one. Last one, Raid the Vaults. After deployment zones are chosen, drop 2 strategy markers center on the center line, each 4 inches to the right and left of the center point respectively, then drop a strategy marker center on the center line on each table quarter. Strategy markers are height 5, blocking and impassable. At the end of each turn, a crew gains 1 victory point if strategy markers it controls are worth more than VP it has gained from this strategy. A crew is controlling a strategy marker if it has more models without the summoning upgrade within 2 inches and loss of the marker than the opposing player. Strategy markers completely on your table half are worth 0 victory points. Strategy markers on the center line are worth 1 victory point. Strategy markers completely on the enemy table half are worth 2 victory points. So you're gonna have 6 strategy markers spread out here and there. And you just need to go and hold them. You just need to go and stand on them basically. And you can not block this with engagement range. There's nothing here that is saying that they have to be unengaged to actually fight for the objective. So if you have 2 models base-to-base contact with each other, one enemy and one friendly, then both can be considered to control this objective, which means that it's 1-1 and no one is controlling it. But then if you have 2 models on that objective, then yeah, you have that objective. Summoning models does not work, so what you want to have here is basically a crew that is very mobile and very durable, can heal and ignore damage in a very good way. Because you don't need to kill your opponents with this, you just need to stand and hold basically. But sometimes you might need to move your models, and that's why movement might be good. So it's depending on, like, if an opponent has 3 models on one location, you could just run away with all your models, and that opponent is consuming 3 models for one location while you're spreading out maybe more efficiently or something. It kind of depends. So I think durability and mobility is going to be very good for this specific objective. Those were the strategies. Now we're going to scroll down to the new schemes. So we have Let Them Bleed, Deathbeds, Power Ritual, In Your Face, Deliver a Message, Outflank, Hold Up Their Forces, Espionage, Sweating Bullets, Information Overload, The Prisoner, Protect Territory, and Ensnare. So Let Them Bleed, we've played this one before, or maybe not all of you, at the end of each turn. If there are 2 enemy models in play that have or are tied for the highest cost, and both models are at half of or less than their maximum health, gain 1 VP. Leaders and models without summoning upgrades are ignored for revealing the scheme. At the end of the game, if there is more than 1 enemy model without summoning upgrades in play that has health equal to its maximum health, gain 1 VP. The first one, Let Them Bleed, is basically that you're just gonna hurt and kill models in general. You're just gonna try to damage all enemy models in general. Deathbeds. At the beginning of the game, secretly choose a type of non-ski marker, reveal. After killing an enemy model within 2 inches of both 1 or more friendly ski markers and 1 or more of the secretly chosen marker, you may reveal this scheme and remove 1 ski marker within 2 inches of the killed model to gain 1 victory point. So for example, you can say peer markers, you have a peer marker next to a model, you have a ski marker next to an enemy model, you kill that model, you remove that ski marker, you gain a victory point. End. At the end of the game, you may remove 2 or more friendly ski markers, each within 2 inches of a different marker of the chosen type on the enemy table half to gain 1 victory point. So you're basically gonna drop one of these chosen types of markers and a ski marker on the enemy table and gain victory points by removing them at the end of turn. Power Ritual. Reveal. At the end of the turn, if you have a friendly ski marker within 3 inches of a table corner not part of your deployment zone, you may reveal this scheme and remove that ski marker to gain 1 victory point. Isn't this just identical to Outflank, but easier? At the end of the turn, if you have a friendly ski marker within 3 inches of a table corner, okay, not part of your deployment zone, you may reveal this scheme and remove that ski marker to gain 1 victory point? No, wait, it's okay, so if you're starting in like standard deployment or wedged, you actually have to go like across the entire board state, so to say. Okay, so it is a little bit different. It's a little bit more tricky. But you just need to get 1 there. In Outflank you need to get 2 there, but you just have to be on the center line. We're gonna get to Outflank soon. And at the end of the game, if you have 3 or more different friendly ski markers within 3 inches of 3 different table corners, with no more than 1 table corner as part of your deployment zone, you may remove those ski markers to gain 1 VP. So you're basically, yeah, running around on the table edges with this one. In Your Face, this is an old one. After an enemy non-leader model of cost 8 or more is killed within 3 inches of an enemy leader, you may reveal this scheme to gain 1 victory point, so you're gonna be in close combat with your leader, your master, and just punch henchmen. At the end of the game, if the highest cost or tied for non-master models you hide this game is in the opponent's table zone, gain 1 VP. That's actually kind of interesting. So if you have a crew that is usually hiring a very expensive henchman on around the 10 or 9, 8 Soulstones or so, and you get that model into the enemy deployment zone, yeah, then you have scored this end part. Then we have Deliver a Message. Before the game, secretly shows a friendly non-leader like your henchman or minion. Reveal. During its activation of the chosen model. If the chosen model is within 1 inch and loss of an enemy master or leader, the secretly chosen model may take the interact action targeting the enemy model to gain 1 victory point. The target model is not treated as engaging the secretly chosen model for the purpose of this interact action, which is obviously like you need to be within 1 inch. Yeah, so basically you're gonna choose a model, run it into one of the enemy master, and just make an interact action. For this scheme, you need a very mobile and durable model so far. And at the end of the game, if an enemy master or leader is within 2 inches and loss of a friendly ski marker, gain 1 victory point. So here's an interesting part. The end and reveal, the model doesn't even need to be alive. So you can, like on round 2, just have your extremely mobile model just get into engagement range with that master somehow, make an interact action, and if the enemy kills it, who cares? If you're able to get a ski marker of if within 2 inches of an enemy model, a master, you gain the second part. So yeah, kind of cool. You basically need a very mobile model, more or less. Just give it fast. So it has fast, walk, interact. Outflank, this is an old one. Reveal at the end of the turn if you have 2 models, each within 3 inches of the center line meets a different table edge or corner, and at the last, one of them is within 3 inches of a friendly ski marker. You may remove 1 such ski marker to gain 1 victory point. Yeah, so where the center line meets and when they go to the different edges, just get 2 models to those locations, make interact actions, and boom, you score victory points. At the end of the game, if you have 2 models, each within 3 inches where the it's just the identical repeat once again. So you need to do that like twice. They need to go to the center line edges, and they need to do it twice. Hold up their force. Reveal at the end of the turn if you have 2 or more friendly models, each engaging a different enemy model with a higher cost than itself, you may reveal this scheme to gain a victory point. So what you want to have here are basically two very cheap for free minions that are very durable and very low cost. And they are just gonna engage enemy models that have a higher cost. And boom, you score this. You need two of them. And at the end of the game, if you have two or more friendly models, each engaging a different enemy model with higher cost than itself, gain 1 VP. Which is basically the same identical thing. Yeah, it's the same thing as reveal. So reveal and end are basically the same. Espionage. Reveal at the end of turn, you may remove 2 friendly ski markers to gain 1 victory point. One of the removed ski markers must be on the center line and one must be in the enemy deployment zone. So it's a combination of breakthrough and leave your mark. Yeah, leave your mark was you're gonna go to the middle, and breakthrough was gonna be just go to the enemy deployment zone, and this is a combination of both. At the end of the game, you may remove 3 friendly ski markers to gain 1 VP. One of the removed ski markers must be in your deployment zone, one must be on the center line, and one must be on the enemy deployment zone. So you can start the first round by just placing 1 random ski marker in your deployment zone to set up for the end. Ensnare. Reveal at the start of an enemy non-minion model's activation before resolving any other effects that happened at the start of a model's activation. You may remove 2 friendly ski markers within of it, and loss of that model. If you do so, gain 1 victory point. Wait, this is super interesting. So the goal is basically to select an enemy model that is not activated yet, run into that model and drop 2 ski markers on it, and when that enemy model activates, before anything else is happening, you may remove those 2 ski markers within 3 inches and loss of that model to gain 1 VP. Now, it's very interesting because it's very easy to actually interact with this, depending on the crew and such. But normally you're just able to make 1 ski marker drop with each model, as it's very hard to make like 2 interact action at the same time. So if you run into a model, you make an interact action dropping a ski marker. If an enemy now activates this model and run away, then that ski marker is not gonna do anything. Or unless like it's sitting there, it might eventually do something. But you can also utilize outside activation movements. So if you have ways to push, lure or trick or teleport models around, there's a lot of different tricks in Malifaux that can move other models outside of their activations. So I think this is gonna be a very kinda depending on the crew and such, but I think it could be kinda tricky. On the other hand, you can utilize different movements trick as well to move enemy models into ski marker positions as well. So yeah, it feels interesting. I think that pass tokens are gonna be extremely important in making sure that you're getting this one to actually resolve the way you need to. And at the end of the game, choose an enemy model. You may remove 2 friendly ski markers within 3 instances. Yeah, so it's the same thing. But it happens at the end of the game instead at the start of that model's activation. Sweating bullets. At the beginning of the game, secretly shows a friendly non-leader model. Reveal at the end of the turn if the chosen model is within 6 inches of the center point and engaging an enemy master or henchman. Gain 1 victory point. So you need to be in the center and you need to be engaged with a master or enemy henchman. It's not impossible, but it is literally 100% impossible to resolve this scheme if an enemy model just never goes to the center. It could actually happen. So you need to choose this if you are predicting that an enemy master is actually going to go towards the center. And at the end of the game, if there are no unengaged enemy master or henchman within of the center point, gain. So this is interesting, they are kind of opposite. So what you can do is just choose this and you're going to get either one of them. Because either the enemy master or henchman is going to go to the center, or either it is not going to go to the center. If you gain the reveal, you can gain the end, so that's a big part. So, but if you don't know what to do, it feels like a safe option of just gaining 1 victory point. Sometimes that's enough. Information overload. Reveal at the end of the turn if there are more friendly ski markers completely on the enemy table half, minimum 3, than enemy ski markers in play. You may remove 2 friendly ski markers completely on the enemy table half to gain a victory point. This could be tricky. It is similar to spread them out, but in spread them out they need to be 10 inches away from each other. Here you just have to have 3 ski markers on the enemy table half. But you also need to have more than your opponents compared to ski markers the opponents have in play. If both are choosing this, it's gonna be tricky for both to gain victory points from it. At the end of the game, if there are more friendly ski markers in play than enemy ski markers in play, you may remove 2 friendly ski markers in play to gain 1 victory point. I kinda like this. I really like this. Now, End doesn't actually care where these ski markers are. They just can be anywhere. So you can swamp your own deployment zone filled with ski markers and yeah, boom, you have this. It sounds like a very interesting scheme. Now literally you're just running around and swamping the entire board state with ski markers here. Take prisoners! At the beginning of the game, secretly choose an enemy minion or an enforcer. So not master or henchman. At the end of the turn, if you have a friendly model engage the chosen model and there are no other enemy models within 2 inches and loss of the chosen model, you may reveal the scheme to gain 1 VP. This is like anti-scheme runner basically. So usually in Malifaux you need these scheme runners that are running around doing schemes on their own. These like very cheap minions or enforcers that are very highly mobile and can usually have like don't mind me or tricks to get out of positions and such. And they're usually running around very solo and interacting to gain victory points. And if you take this, your goal is basically to run and catch that little scheme runner and basically be in engagement with it. Here's the thing, there shows a model and there are no other enemy models within 2 inches, so you need to have a model that is going to be an individual solo model running around on its own, or basically you can also just kill every other model that is outside of it. But yeah, you wanna take the prisoner when you are predicting that the enemy is gonna have a scheme runner that you can catch. And at the end of the game, if the chosen model is on your table half or the chosen model was killed by an enemy controlled model, gain 1 victory point. Wait, obey? How much obey do you need to do this? So you yourself can't kill the model, that's very important, but you need to like lure it, you need to literally drag it all the way towards your table half. Wait, lure is literally the key to actually just score this entire scheme. So with lure, you can drag out a key model out of position, so it's on its own basically. That's how you score the first part of this, because then you just engage it. It doesn't have any friendly models around it because you've lured it out of position. So yeah, that's the first part. The second part is that you use lure to continuously drag it towards your table half. The way to prevent this is by if it was killed by an enemy controlled model. However, with obey, now obey you can also use it to like make move actions out of positions similar to lure, but with obey you can obey enemy models to kill this model. I really like that they are making lure and obey better. Like yeah, this is basically the take prisoner, lure, obey scheme. Let's move on to the last one. Protect territory. Reveal. At the end of the turn, you may remove 2 friendly ski markers completely on the enemy table half, each at least 10 inches apart, not within 3 inches of an enemy models, to gain 1 VP. At the end of the game, if you may remove 2 friendly ski markers completely on the table. Yeah, identical. So this is similar to spread them out basically, except that you only need to have 2 victory points, 2 friendly ski markers, and instead of 3, they still need to be 10 inches away from each other, but not within 3 inches of any enemy models. So yeah, you need to basically go and claim areas. You run to a location where you believe the enemies don't gonna go to. And then you just drop a ski marker. So you want to have really cheap, budget-friendly models, minions preferably, that are very mobile, that you don't care about. If an enemy model has to basically be consumed to just go to this location to remove that ski marker, that's still kind of a win-win for you. If you're using, let's say, a 4 Soulstone model to go to a location, to make an interact action, drop a ski marker, and the enemy has to use a 6 or 8 Soulstone model to go to that location to prevent you from scoring victory points, then yeah, you're kinda gaining a little bit of value compared to an enemy regarding that. I never really felt that breakthrough spread them out is that hard to actually achieve, and usually when you achieve it, you don't really have enemy models within those ski markers. Anyways, but it's a twist. Kinda cool. I kinda like it. So those were the strategies and scheme updates from Gaining Grounds Season 4. I think I'm gonna play a lot of more Colette de Boos, if I'm gonna be honest. This entire GG4 really screams Colette de Boos. We're gonna run around, just interact and drop ski markers. Never make a single... Okay, we actually might make lure actions. Those are attack actions. But apart from that, we're not gonna do any attack actions at all. We're just gonna scheme like crazy. What's the name of that explorer master that makes ski markers hazardous? Oh yeah, you know, the tomahawk lady. She's kinda cool. She might be good here. She also wanna have just random ski markers in general, so yeah. But in general, it feels like you need to do a lot of interact actions. Some of the strategies we actually looked at, you can win by just having more interact actions. Basically just having more models that can execute the interact action, basically. So yeah, kinda cool. Now this was a video a little bit different compared to what we normally do on this YouTube channel. But I thought that we should showcase some spoilers of the work in progress currently. Because I would like to mention that as usual, everything is going according to plan. Their goal is to have a Malifaux match at the end of the last Sunday of every month. So looking forward to see you again in 2 weeks. Take care guys, and thank you so much for watching.